Hi everyone, welcome back to Liz Sews, and this is the second part in my underwire series where I show you how to modify a pattern to fit a wire. I'm going to be showing this tutorial using the Harriet bra pattern, and then I have a wire from, I believe this is Art Crafts, and I can link down the wire in the description below. So this particular wire has a very long underarm. I find that's really comfortable for me. So that's one thing that we're going to change. And the other reason I need to alter the pattern is just that that wire is bigger than what this specific pattern is. So the first thing you want to do is find the balance point of the wire. Okay, so you can see I've just drawn two lines that are perpendicular to each other. And I'm going to place my wire on there. I want the inside of the center front to be against that line, and I want the inside of the bottom to be against that line. So you sort of move it around until you hit those two spots get lined up. And then what you do is take a Sharpie and sort of mark where that balance point is on your wire. Once you've got your balance point figured out, you actually want to set that back by an additional 5 millimeters or half a centimeter. So take your ruler and just mark what half a centimeter is. So that's going to be your new balance point. So once you've found the balance point on your wire, you can get your pattern pieces out. So the two pattern pieces I'm going to work with are going to be the bridge and then the outer cradle. So what I'm going to do is trace those out onto my tracing paper, and then I'm going to overlap where they're going to stitch together. So you want to make sure that you have that 1/4 inch seam allowance overlapping on each one. So here you can see that I have copied both that bridge and the outer cradle, and then I made sure to overlap it and so that the seam allowances meet in the center. So what you're going to want to do is also make sure to put in your seam allowance markings as well as the notches. And the reason I'm saying that is that most of the time the drafters are pretty good about making notches right where that balance point of the wire needs to be. So you want the balance point to be directly under the apex of the bust, so sort of directly under where your nipple is going to be. If I lay my wire on these dotted lines, and then I line up my balance point with the notch that's in the pattern, we can see it's actually pretty good all the way along here. It follows it really, really closely. The biggest issue I see is on this end of the wire. So I'm going to want to add in what's called wire spring. So what that means is I want the curve of the pattern to be slightly wider than the wire itself. And the reason that we want that is because once the bra is worn, that the band is going to pull the wire open just slightly like that. And that's really what's going to have it fit really comfortable against your body. So if I compare this, I see that, you know, I'm pretty good all the way around here, but I definitely need to make some adjustments on this side. So we want the very edge of this to be at least 15 millimeters out. So I'll hold my wire on there and then use my ruler and mark out 15 millimeters from the very, very top of the wire. So that's where I want the new seam allowance to be. So if I place the wire on top now, you can see how this edge is going to sort of splay open, and that's exactly what we want to see. Now this is the wire line, so you have to remember that you still need to put in your your 1/4 of an inch seam allowance back in. So at this point, it gets a little bit tricky to see what you're doing. So I'm going to tear it off and just trace off the parts that I am keeping so I can move on to the next step. So I've just traced it over again. I've gotten rid of all of the parts that I no longer need and got my new wire line drawn into there. Again, we can just check it and make sure that yes, we have that nice wire spring, which is exactly what we want to see. You'll notice I didn't finish the top over here. And that's because the next step I want to do is make sure that we have enough length for the wire. So you can see at the center front, the edge of that wire is right up against the edge of where that center front bridge is going to be. Now you might think that that is good, but you actually want to build in what's called wire play. So wire play is a little bit of distance on both ends of the wire that allows that wire to just sort of wiggle around in there just ever so slightly. So you want to account for about, I'd say like 5 millimeters of wire play at either end, so like a 1/4 of an inch. So I actually think this bridge needs to be raised by an extra 1/4 of an inch to allow myself to have that wire play. So that's the first step I'm going to do. That looks pretty good. So the wire ends here, and the seam allowance is going to be here, and then that's where you cut the fabric. We also need to do the same thing up here. So you want this to end. Once you get to this part, you kind of have to like pretend like the wire is already sprung open and sort of move it around until it lines up with the edge on this side. You can say, okay, it ends here. I want to give myself a 1/4 inch of wire play and then a 1/4 inch of seam allowance. 1/4 inch of wire play and then a 1/4 inch of seam allowance. So it ends up being about 1/2 of an inch longer. So that's where I want it to end. And then all you have to do is angle that down to meet the side over here. So as you can see, mine is going to be quite a bit taller than the original pattern was drafted for. If I just slide the original pattern under here, you can see that's quite a bit taller. And that's because, as I had said, this is a high underarm wire, so I expected that. You might not have to make that height adjustment over here. And because I actually did end up adding some height on the side, you're going to have to add height to the back band as well and just grade that down to nothing as it gets to the center of your back. Break these two pieces apart again so you have your two individual pattern pieces. So that's going to be my bridge piece, like that. I'm going to transfer it over. If you make any changes to this portion of the wire of the bridge piece, other than the lengthening is fine because it does that symmetrically. But if you make any changes to the shape over here, the best way to get this pattern done is to just cut it in half, fold it so that you get mirror images on either side. Otherwise, this section isn't going to match this section. And then when you come to copying here, all you're going to do is just again build back out that seam allowance. And so this piece is one piece as well. So here's going to be your outside cradle. and you're going to cut two, one for either side, and this is going to be the bridge, and you're going to cut one of these. So if you made any alterations here, you want to cut it off the center on the folds, that way that alteration is copied over to the other side. So here's what those two pattern pieces look like once I break them back apart. So now that we're finished with all of the cradle portion of the alterations, we need to make a couple of alterations to the cup pieces as well. If you remember, we added an extra 1/4 of an inch onto the bridge height. So if you added any length there, you are going to also have to add that length to the cup piece itself. So this is the Harriet bra, and so I'm going to add the length to this top cup piece. So I've already started tracing it out. You can see I've left that top portion untraced. All you simply need to do is measure up that extra 1/4 of an inch. Or whatever amount that you added to your bridge height. And then connect that back to the original line at the side. So you can see we've just added a little bit of a pie piece in on the very, very top of that pattern. This was the original, top was there, and then we're going to change it just slightly to add that extra little length at the top. Now, because we also lengthened the outer cradle when I was adjusting for this wire, you probably are going to need to lengthen the outer cup piece as well. And I think the easiest way to do that, again, is to use a sort of curved ruler, or you can even use like measuring tape. Either of those works. And you just want to walk the length of this curve, get a measurement for that, and then compare it over here. So the distance between this top and this first mark should be equivalent to this distance of this cup piece. So I might decide that I needed to add an extra, say, inch on this side to accommodate that length that we've added. So this was the original side of the cup, and then I'm going to start here instead, and I would just blend that back in so that it meets at the same spot it would have previously. So this is the original cup side right here, and this would be our altered cup side. Well, I hope you guys have learned a little something about how you can sort of alter the patterns to meet your wire. Come back next week and I can show you how to trim down the wire. So say I was going to use this wire in a plunge bra pattern, you could definitely cut the wire down a little bit shorter in the center front, or if this is too high for you, you can cut it down on the underarm as well.